I am Chip Mays. I am Music Director and Organist here at the Episcopal Church of Our Saviour. I've been here almost 2 years. I started right at the beginning of the pandemic, so I really never knew the church with people in it. It was mostly just me here in an empty building with this organ. And then later, Janie and I did streaming from the nave, but just the two of us for many, many months. But thankfully, we're coming out of the other side of this thing and have been able to meet a lot of folks, though some of you have not met me because of that. My primary duties here are directing the adult choir and playing the organ for services, and thankfully that's pretty much back. As some of our families and younger children are able to return, we have great hope of beginning children's choir and youth choir ministries as well. I began my interest in music probably as a pretty young kid, actually. There was at some point, I think it was actually in Charlotte visiting family, that I heard a pipe organ for the first time and was really bitten by that bug very early on. As I remember as a small child going on about pipe organs, particularly Skinner organs. I had heard of the name of E.M. Skinner. I started studying piano at a pretty young age. I was about 6 years old or so, and took all the way through high school, but all I ever really wanted to do was to play the organ. When I went to Furman University, I studied organ for a few years there, even though I was not a music major at Furman. And then took a couple years off to finish my biology degree, which I did finish, and then went back to school at Anderson College where I studied organ, and then finished a master's degree in church music at Erskine Theological Seminary, also studying organ there. I worked full-time in church music for about 10 years at the church in Greenville, and then another 5 at a church in Seneca, South Carolina, and came to Charlotte about 5 years ago now. Didn't have a church job initially. I'm a member at St. Peter's Church in Charlotte and sing in the choir there some still. But when I began to realize I wanted to have another church job part-time here in Charlotte, I had a job in Gastonia for a time, but then the job here at Our Saviour, I saw it listed on AGO website, I think it was, and contacted Navi Green actually about the job, and she said, unfortunately we're well into the process. We've got several applicants, and probably we'll make a decision but I'll hang on to your resume. And I sort of dismissed it and said, well, that was very nice of her to reply. And then literally a couple weeks later, if that, she emailed me back and said, actually, they didn't work out. So if you'd like to come and interview, and then I guess the rest is history. As soon as I got here, I think there was an immediate connection, particularly with Janie, but certainly with the folks I interviewed with. And it's been a great connection these 2 years so far, even with the strangeness of the pandemic. The organ here at Our Saviour is an Austin organ. It was built in Hartford, Connecticut in 1984 originally, the first part of it, and then added to in 1992. There is an interesting history of the organs here at Our Saviour. There's probably a number of organs some time back, but most recently, in the late 60s, the church purchased the organ that was at Christ Church in Greenville that they had when they built their new organ. And it was installed here. It was probably not terribly successful, I don't think, but there were probably some good things about it. Unfortunately, the roof over here, I believe it was, leaked on it and destroyed half of it. It was probably in around late 70s, I think it was. And so through a long process, no doubt, the church came to have this Austin organ, which was built new in 1984. Interestingly, the part of this organ that is not new is where I'm sitting, the console. This came from Christ Church. It was a fairly new console when they got the organ. It was rebuilt by Austin in 1984, so it's essentially the same as the rest of the organ as far as its condition. But the organ is very, very nice instrument. As I said, it was originally built in 1984, completed in 1992 with the addition of some more pipes on the other side of the room to complete the 3 manual specification. But it's really a joy to play, and the renovations were done some years ago in the room to remove the carpeting, and so the room has, while it's still a small, intimate space, has a really nice acoustic and very resonant, and it's wonderful for making music. In addition to my work here at Our Saviour, I work full-time for Cornell Zimmer Organ Builders up in Denver, North Carolina at Lake Norman. We build and rebuild pipe organs, and in addition to my infatuation with playing the organ, from the time I was a small kid, I've always been interested in how they work. Some people simply want to play them, but I have to know how things work. I'm a mechanical person like that. And I spent many years working for an organ tuner, and then later had my own business tuning and repairing organs. But then 5 years ago was offered a position at Cornell Zimmer and came up to Charlotte, and it was a big move for me to do that. But now I get to every day go and build pipe organs, and I love that. But I'm thankful now to be able to balance that with my work here and have both. I do actually a good bit of small repairs on the organ here and tune the organ at Our Saviour because I can, and because I like to have it done my way, and if I do it, then it will be done my way. But I enjoy that work very much as well. Looking towards the future at Our Saviour, there have been a lot of limitations in the time I've been here due to the pandemic. I am hopeful, as is Reverend Janie, that we'll get folks back, particularly families, and can work more towards having a broader music program to work with children and youth. We've also talked about the potential of having Evensong come back sometimes and making that a real event. These are just things that have been difficult to impossible during the pandemic, but I would love to see all of that come back. The choir has steadily returned, and I'm really thankful that that's in a good place right now. We can always use more members, but we have a pretty good core group right now, and I'm very thankful for that. Currently, the choir rehearses on Wednesday evenings, and then we gather on Sunday mornings also at 9:30. Wednesdays are at 7. We are always open to new members, folks who like to sing. It is helpful to be able to read music or to have had experience, but if you are so inclined, we will work around whatever to have you there if you'd like to be a part of the choir. It's a really joy-filled group, and we have a great time together and enjoy singing. So all are certainly welcome, and anyone can just get in touch with me via church website or come see me, and we'll talk about how that could work for you. So I'd love to have anybody. One of the things I love the most about Church of Our Saviour is the camaraderie, the dynamic amongst the congregation and with Janie. Janie and I particularly have a great relationship. We are friends. We became fast friends as soon as I interviewed for the job, really. We had a great phone conversation. But we have a good connection. I can actually, from where I sit, can see Janie very clearly at the altar on Sunday mornings. And so we're always looking at one another and saying, yes, now, or nope, wait. But it's really great. But on a more serious level, having someone like Janie to work with is wonderful because we're such a team. And it's such a wonderful collaboration. I will say also, the other thing I love about Our Saviour is the fact that the church has a history and loves and embraces being Episcopalians, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think that's a lot of good. I think sometimes people could be turned off maybe to a church that seems stuffy or cold, and that is not this church. This church is so warm and loving, and yet we still stick to our heritage and our Episcopal roots and enjoy the liturgy and what makes us Episcopalian, but again, not too serious such that we can laugh at ourselves and feel that everyone can be welcome and be a part of a church like this. I am so thankful to be here, a part of the Our Saviour family, and I really heartily invite anyone to come and join us. If you haven't been back, maybe this will be a time after the pandemic has begun to wane a bit to rejoin us, or if you're visiting, please come and enjoy the worship with us, and if you're interested in what we do, particularly as far as the music, I would love to talk to you about including you in that program. Thanks.